Great googly. Catchphrase, yeah. Merch.
Great googly, yes.
Captain Candy.
Captain Candy.
I am your superior.
It's like he's announcing who's going to be in the fight. Captain
Candy. Ding, 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 ding.
This is our A material.
Wait, we should make tea.
Should we?
I don't know.
I feel like we'll just go to the bathroom in the middle.
That's true.
Let's just go.
Alright, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Welcome back to the...
Oh, you're recording?
Yes.
I didn't know it. I thought you were just tooling around on your phone.
Yeah, well, I was. But anyway, welcome back to the 75% Asian podcast.
And, we're finally doing the thing that we said we were going to do months ago.
Yeah, we're doing Barbie. And the first one on our list is the 2001 release of Barbie in the Nutcracker. Which is...
It's the first one in the series of direct-to-video animated movies that they did. I have a very fond memory of this movie.
I watched it so much on VHS.
We just rewatched it now, but I'm not gonna lie, I watched it within the last year.
So did I. I watch it every year, and it doesn't even have to be at Christmas. I could watch this movie anytime.
I'm positive I watched this movie to the point where I don't really need the movie to watch it.
We know all
I can mentally watch it.
Yes. I think that we have the entire script down. I think we just wanted a refresher to write notes, of which we did write notes.
We did.
Just to hit some key points of which aren't really key points because
they're not.
It's gonna go.
It's just comments and jokes.
It is just comments. I feel like eventually we'll get to a routine where we'll have things that we want to discuss about the Barbie movies.
I went and got out my Happy Meal Barbie from the movie.
Of which we'll take a picture and insert the image.
She's looking a little sad, actually, because she was in a box for ages.
Yeah.
But, I have a Clara Barbie that I kept from the movie. I also have the ornaments, but I didn't go downstairs to get them because I don't feel like it.
And then I will take a picture of my VHS tape cover because the DVD cover is very strange, but...
Yeah, they've redone the art in the recent re-releases of the movie.
Yeah, the Barbie...
And that bugs me.
Yeah, the Barbie art has definitely changed over time, over the 2 decades. And
she looks less like a doll and more like a character now.
It's so beautiful how it was done before in the original quote-unquote trilogy of the Nutcracker, the Swan Lake, and Rapunzel.
That's kind of the way it's gone animation-wise with the movies in general, though.
Yeah.
Just an FYI, we watched these movies way past the recommended age.
Yeah, there was no cap for us. We just watched the movies and enjoyed.
We just kept watching them. I was watching them steadily into high school.
Me too. I have a whole collection.
Every time there was a new one, I kept watching them.
You know, I have a funny story.
I didn't keep buying them, but I did keep watching them.
I never bought them, actually. Ironically, I bought this version of the Nutcracker because I didn't have it on DVD. I only had it on VHS, and of course I needed to have it on DVD. But anyway, the story goes that every time I got sick, or I had to have a surgery, or something crazy happened and I was out of school for a certain period of time, my mother would always come home with a Barbie movie, and I would watch it until, basically my eyes were bleeding.
Like a rental?
No, she would buy a Barbie movie. But, I just never paid attention to when they were coming out, and somehow they always coincided with, the things that happened.
I always knew when they were coming out, and I would rent them when Blockbuster got them.
Oh,
this was back when we had Blockbuster, and then when Blockbuster stopped getting them, I stopped watching them. And then the internet came into my life, and then I started rewatching where I'd binge them.
But then certain ones got worse. Certain
yeah,
Barbie they went downhill.
They got worse. There was every once in a while there'd be a good one, but they mostly went downhill. They sucked.
Yeah.
And then they changed Barbie's voice actor, and I stopped watching.
Yeah, of which her name is Kelly Sheridan, who
Yes.
is the original OG Barbie.
Kelly Sheridan voiced Barbie up until, I think, Fashion Fairy Tale?
I think so. But then she's kind of come back and gone away. It just...
Yeah, she periodically comes back.
You see a lot of the voice actors that are in this Barbie movie, Barbie and Rapunzel, reappearing. And some of them don't. But yeah. Normally the love interest is the same, but not the same guy this time. This is the only time
that it's a different voice actor as the love interest, and I wish he had done the voice the whole time, because he's just kind of perfect.
He is perfect, but the other guy is really great.
I don't dislike the other guy. Do you like the other guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Nutcracker Ken character in this is voiced by Kirby Moreau, and then Mark Hildreth takes over for the rest of the time.
Yeah, almost the rest of the time. I think
Most of
they
it.
switched him like once, but maybe it's just because when they introduced two men. Like
Yeah,
two guy
because
characters
there were two
every
love
now and then.
interests in
Princess and the Pauper.
Yeah, and then and
There was
what
Prince
the other
Dominic
one?
and
Julian.
Julian,
Julian,
I
the
love
teacher.
Julian.
Julian is sweet.
Oh,
He's great.
and then the twins.
We know too much about these movies.
Now those movies I don't know as well as Barbie and the Nutcracker.
We've decided we will rewatch them right before we do these, so it's really fresh in our minds. And then if there's something that we don't like about it, we can be really angry about it.
Yeah, and actually speak to it. But as far as Barbie in the Nutcracker goes, this is the best Nutcracker version, hands down. You can fight me on that.
I don't know if anyone's gonna fight you about this movie.
They shouldn't, because it is just the best movie.
It's perfect, but also I don't feel like there's enough people that would want to fight you about this.
This is true. Nobody needs to fight me about it.
You either knew this movie existed or you didn't play with Barbie dolls.
And you didn't have a life, because this is the best Nutcracker ever, aside from the actual ballet of the Nutcracker.
Yeah. If you don't have the patience for an actual ballet,
this is the best.
Then this
second choice.
78-minute movie is simultaneously really, really educational if you've never seen the Nutcracker before.
78-minute. I love how specific that is.
I wrote it down.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. So, okay. So you had the VHS version. I had the DVD.
I did have the VHS version, and I had the VHS version up until like sometime after 2015.
Yeah, because you bought it on DVD finally.
Yeah.
And then you've got the weird redesign cover, and I have the original cover.
We're gonna put
It's funny because the redesign is in there, but you open up the box and the disc has the art on it, and it's the art from the original one.
It's just bizarre. It's all bizarre. You'll see some pictures thrown up here, of like the original cover, the disc cover, or like the disc image, and then the DVD remake or like remodel of her face. It's very strange. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, they just redid it.
Yeah, it's like a holiday version though. But ironically, the fairy, one of the snowflake fairies, the girl, the little girl, like almost like Kelly.
The Kelly fairy character is on there.
Looks just the same.
Looks exactly the same. And then it's funny because in the original box art, she's holding the Kelly fairy.
But now she's holding
the Nutcracker, and then the Nutcracker on the box and the Nutcracker in the art looks totally different. Because the Nutcracker in the art looks like in the movie. The Nutcracker in the box doesn't look anything like how he looks in the movie.
And he's holding like peppermint.
He's holding like a lollipop.
Yeah.
We're complaining about
We haven't even made it to the movie yet.
Okay, so voice cast. We've got Kelly Sheridan, we've got Kirby Moreau, and then as the Mouse King we have the excellent Tim Curry. Tim Curry is
can say some
everything.
lines.
He'll say anything ridiculous in this movie.
He
and
delivers.
You're like, yes.
You know, there's this funny quote that's going around the internet about how you can tell what kind of person someone is by what movie they know Tim Curry from. And, like, that is, like, the honest-to-God truth.
I know him from too many things.
Me too.
And he's excellent in all of them.
He is sublime.
No matter what he's in, he's always great. It doesn't matter if it's a bad movie. He's never bad in a movie.
Yes.
Never.
Yes.
And his voice is great, so him playing the Mouse King is excellent. And when we were watching the credits, I noticed that the voice supervisor in this, the casting director was Andrea Romano, and she is excellent. So she always picks the best voices. She was the voice director for all of the Justice League cartoons, all of DC, basically. Everything Bruce Timm has ever worked on, she's always been working on it. She's great.
It's great to have somebody like that overseeing this.
Mm-hmm. Who did the music? The music person.
Well, that's a dude, and his name is actually Arnold Roth, but people call him Arnie. And he also directed, like he was the conductor, but they say directed in the credits and stuff of like his Wikipedia page and whatnot. But he conducted Final Fantasy live concerts. Mm-hmm. Okay, I just had to throw that in there because that's a cool fact.
What I was actually reaching for was what orchestra did the music in this.
Well, the orchestra that did the music in this is actually where do I have that? I have it written down as the London Symphony Orchestra. But it's originally Tchaikovsky, but they were the recorded version of it is the London Symphony.
They got an orchestra for this movie.
They got an orchestra, and if that's not proper music, I don't know what.
And an excellent orchestra.
A phenomenal orchestra. It couldn't have been any better. And a lot of the time, you see people or composers making music to fit the movie, or making music that's completely different from what's original. And it takes the original and helps it flow with the storyline seamlessly. Like, there's some alterations and some changes to the music.
Does not happen in this order, or it's been chopped down to fit the scene, but the music is always lending in favor of the story.
Yeah, it's like program music. There's a different kind of version of music, and program music is where you can actually have a story within it. Yeah,
so like every time that they picked a piece of music from the ballet, it was completely in service to the story. And there's layers to this story I did not notice as a kid, and then
you're catching
as
now.
An adult rewatching this movie is so well thought out.
It was so planned for it. Even there's so many foreshadowing moments.
This movie does not deserve how good it is. It's a Barbie movie.
I know. It's like astronomically just like, how are you this good? And it just is. It just is. Like, everything came together.
Everything about it works, and it's not like there's any parts that really drag.
It just keeps going.
The story doesn't have any fat. It's a
well-oiled
exactly
machine.
The way it's supposed to be.
Every piece is there, and it's meant to be there.
And all the foreshadowing pays off correctly.
Yes.
You've got characters that are well thought out and are like well developed.
Yep.
And every character that's like a main character has an arc.
Or, like, every character that you meet serves a purpose. And, like, certain little facts about those characters prove to have a reason to be in them.
And it's a children's movie, so, like, they don't go super dark or anything. There's, like, moments where you're like, oh, damn. Kind of like, because you're invested.
Yes.
So, like, when somebody gets injured, you're, like, really genuinely worried.
You're like, oh, man.
But it's a children's movie, so, like, most of the time people are like, oh, children's movies. Well, there's going to be, like, fart jokes and things like that. No, the comedy...
Googly.
The comedy fits where it's supposed to go. So, like, characters that are comic relief characters are not annoying.
It's not overdone.
And I think this is one of the only ones where Barbie doesn't have a animal companion of some kind. Because after that, they go animal companion like crazy.
They do.
But sometimes there's way too much.
There's multiple animal companions in...
that I really hate.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the villain had an animal companion that was actually like his like lackey, and I enjoy it. You know what? You know how I made the Bartok joke?
Yeah.
Because the Mouse King has a bat as his lackey in this movie, and I was making jokes about Bartok. And now, upon thinking about it, I'm like, they have the same kind of relationship, the Mouse King and Pym, as Rasputin and Bartok have.
And also, the design of Pym and Bartok are like, if you put them side to side, there's like, they don't
Bartok is definitely cuter.
They don't look normal.
No,
like there's something just off about them because they're like little henchmen.
Yeah.
Bats.
You can tell who's the good guys and who's the bad guys.
They don't really like doing certain things because...
Yeah.
Like, but why?
Yeah, Pym is just super spoiled. Bartok's actually just kind of there and being like a conscience. So like, but as far as service to the story goes, they do all the bad things. It's just Pym definitely is a bad guy. Bartok's not really bad.
Yeah, he doesn't mean to be bad.
He's just a very good foil to Rasputin because Rasputin is evil,
right?
In that movie, but like Pym is a good foil in like comedic ways because the Mouse King is just kind of a dick.
Yeah. I'm just feeling faint.
The comedy lands where it's supposed to land. Nothing's super out there where you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, this is so weird.
It doesn't take you out of the movie. And it springs back immediately where it goes, it laxes into like, yay, and then it springs back immediately into, now we're back to the story.
So, why...
But yeah.
I'm going to ask you this question because I don't have it written down. Why is their animation style so well done, especially with the movements?
Okay, so the animation company that did the movie is Acclaim Animation. And Acclaim is now known for their work that they do in video games. They did work on the Mortal Kombat series. They did work on a bunch of things.
Yeah.
But Acclaim in the early 2000s was kind of your go-to if you wanted to do anything with motion capture because it was such a new technology. They were kind of like the only game in town if you wanted to do motion capture. So the movie is motion captured for specific sequences. I don't feel like it was totally motion captured because there's sequences where the characters are just walking around or idle animationing around where it all looks very animated by hand.
But for when it counts.
But for the moments that it's supposed to be for motion capture, which is where there's extended ballet dance sequences in the movie that they use for transitional things or for storytelling things where there's ballet in the movie, it switches to the motion capture. And they got actual dancers from the New York City Ballet to do motion capture. So you can tell. The moment that there's actually ballet, the animation goes from being like early 2000s animation, where it's not too bad, it's not super great, but it's serviceable, to being smooth as butter.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful.
Stunning.
It's so beautiful to watch.
The movement is so good.
We watched The Last Dance, not like the ending, but The Last Dance of the Sugar Plum Princess. And
the Sugar Plum Princess dance, which is in the ballet, would be the Sugar Plum Fairy and the Knaves pas de deux. We watched it twice. We backed it up and watched it twice because it was so gorgeous.
Yes.
And it wasn't just that they had animation on their side and motion capture, but the director, Owen Hurley, actually did a lot of good camera movement and staging of the movie.
The camera movement was just...
The movie had a moving camera for certain sequences. So, like, when the dancing happens, the camera would move with the dancers, which is something really unique that you don't get to see in a ballet.
It's the sweeping motion, which normally
they did a sweep around camera motion for the lift at the end of the...
They do it a couple times.
At the end of the sequence, and it's stunning. And, like, when you have the animation, when you have the camera movement and good directing, and you've got the music to back it up, it's just perfect.
It is phenomenal. But if you think about that, most people, when they think of sweeping camera movements in an animated film, immediately think of the ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
Of which won an award. And it had to create, like, its own award.
2 years earlier.
Yes. It had to create the own award just for that, and it's like... This is a Barbie movie, and they were already doing that.
They definitely were taking tabs from Disney and what was going on, but they wanted to do something that was unique, and I know for a fact that they definitely picked the Nutcracker because it's in the public domain, so they could cut costs in where they could, and the Nutcracker has its own narrative, so you already got some kind of pre-made cookie-cutter things that are boxed in with choosing to do the Nutcracker. And then it's also a great deal because it's something that you can easily merchandise with the Barbie brand because the Barbie ballerina has been a thing forever. And then by releasing it in October 23rd, which is close to the Christmas season, you're hitting the best time to hit the market for a Christmas movie.
And
so
everything for all that
about
merch
this movie
for Christmas
was stacked in Mattel's favor. But the fact that they actually put in the effort to make a decent movie
is what blows my mind.
Yes, they really tried hard. As opposed to just trying to do a cash grab of a Christmas Barbie movie, which there is one of those.
There is.
It's awful.
Barbie in
Barbie
a Christmas Carol.
We'll talk about that when we get to it. We're going to do a series on this.
And we're going it by, like, when they were released.
Yeah, we're going to do them in order.
But we're not doing all of them. We will stop once the animation switches to something that we just can't stand.
We'll stop when we can't take it anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
When Barbie starts looking weird, we'll stop.
Obviously,
we should sum up the movie
for
those that have never seen it.
If they don't know what's happening in the Nutcracker, you should stop and figure out what's happening in the Nutcracker.
Okay, so, like, I've seen the ballet a million times, and definitely they got all of the story beats that are in the ballet. The ballet is very open to interpretation because the story basically ends in Act 1, and then the rest of it is just a lot of feature
and like storylines within those characters
and things, and it's a lot of just dance. It's a lot of featuring of dancing. There's not a whole lot of actual story. It's a very vague plot to make room for all of the dancing and the costumes. So the idea that they took the story and then they made their own story
and gave
around
characters.
The idea is not offensive because every time you see the ballet, it's different.
It is, yes.
Every time you see the ballet, it's the director's vision of what's going on. So the story does not bother me. The story is also really good, which really doesn't bother me. But the actual ballet essentially is...
they attend a party that's held by Drosselmeyer.
Named Clara. She goes to her Uncle Drosselmeyer's for a party. She receives a Nutcracker as a present, and her brother breaks the Nutcracker, and she repairs it, and with her love kind of breaks the spell that is magically on it because he's actually a prince. And he battles the Mouse King and is able to prevail over the Mouse King, and then they go to his magical realm and they celebrate the victory of vanquishing the Mouse King. The Mouse King dies in Act 1. That's how quick this story goes.
It's done.
Very fast. So by like the second act, it's already, they're in the magical land, and then they end with attending the regalia at the Sugar Plum Fairy's palace, and it ends with the Sugar Plum Fairy's pas de deux with the knave, and then Clara wakes up and it was a dream.
Yep. Sort
of deal. It's like, you know, like an Alice in Wonderland or a Wizard of Oz sort of thing.
Yes.
Where it was a dream. But it was a magical dream sort of thing. It's adorable.
But in Barbie and the Nutcracker, it's very similar.
Similar, but different.
She has a grandfather, Drosselmeyer, but actually the one who really puts the...
It's not really where it starts, though.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, because there's a moral going on with this. Because they wanted to teach girls...
It's Barbie. First, it's Barbie.
Yeah. Barbie wants to teach you how to feel confident in
yourself. And be a good person.
Be a good person. Feel confident. Trust your instincts.
You can do anything.
You go, girl.
Yeah, so Kelly and her are at the studio.
Yeah, they're practicing for the winter recital. Kelly is doing, is it the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that's the music that we open with. It's the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, and she can't get the steps right, and her older sister Barbie is already a dancer. She does it perfectly, and Kelly's getting really discouraged.
I'll never get it.
Yeah, so then Barbie decides to kind of pep her up by saying, well, why don't you be like Clara from the ballet? She wouldn't have given up, and she's like, tell me about that, Barbie. And then we transition into...
And that transition is beautiful.
Yeah, the animation is really good.
It, like, pans out over into a window and zooms into the window, and it's just snowing outside. And then you just hear a music interlude, and it just keeps going for a moment. And then it segues into Clara talking.
It's played by Barbie in the story, but you go with it.
Yes, it's Clara.
At some point, you kind of forget that you're being told the story.
It's a narrative, but then it becomes the actual story.
Clara and her brother are being raised by their grandfather, Drosselmeyer, and they're about to throw a Christmas party, and Aunt Elizabeth shows up with presents. You want to talk about Aunt Elizabeth?
Aunt Elizabeth is perfect.
She's amazing.
You know that she's the reason that everything was set into motion. She is the one. Normally it's Drosselmeyer the one.
In the ballet, Drosselmeyer shows up, and he's somewhat magic.
He's a crazy guy. Always crazy.
He's your eccentric uncle, and he brings all these fantastic presents in the ballet. And in this storyline, Aunt Elizabeth Drosselmeyer is the one who sets the magic in motion by giving the gift of the Nutcracker to Clara.
And she'd just gotten back from China.
And she's telling her all these things about how you should travel, Clara. You should go see the world and live your dreams. And Clara's like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
I just don't think I can
I'm not confident like you. Aunt Elizabeth is perfect. I want to be her.
Yes.
We all want to be Aunt Elizabeth.
When we grow up, she's perfect.
She's
amazing.
Best hair.
Oh, when we had all three of these characters in this scene, though, Clara, Aunt Elizabeth, and Grandpa Drosselmeyer, of course, Aunt Elizabeth calls him Uncle Drosselmeyer, so that's why it's a little bit confusing sometimes. Their character designs, beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Phenomenal.
The tailoring of the clothing around the characters is really beautiful.
And each one is specific for the characters. You don't see the outfit twice. You never see somebody wearing the same dress except for in the Village People.
The clothing and...
the extras.
The clothing and the set design, like the settings of all the rooms that you're in, really give you a sense of what time period and place this is, because it looks like a very Dickensian sort of Christmas.
Victorian.
Yeah.
Very.
But everybody's American, so we're just going to go with it on that point.
Yes.
But it's like one of those very traditional old school Christmases with the big real tree and the real gingerbread ornaments. And there's, as epic foreshadowing, Clara puts a glass ballerina ornament on the tree.
With a locket.
That has a locket around its neck, and you later find out into the movie that it's the design of the Sugar Plum Fairy.
Everything in this movie is foreshadowing almost.
Foreshadowed. Within the first, 10 minutes of them being in the main room with the Christmas tree, everything's foreshadowed.
And it's just so well done, because you don't realize it until after it's happened. That, oh my gosh.
The first time I saw the movie, the ultimate twist at the end actually caught me by surprise, because I was familiar with the ballet.
Yes.
I was not expecting what happens in the story, but I did enjoy it.
Yes.
And now, as an adult, rewatching it and seeing all the foreshadowing, I love it. There was even foreshadowing I hadn't seen before that I noticed, and we paused the movie a couple times because we were like,
And then we had to go back a couple times just to rewatch it. So, as we go through that, then she falls asleep on the couch.
Well, her brother also broke the Nutcracker.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting that people might not know the Nutcracker just as well as we do.
Yeah, her brother breaks the Nutcracker.
Tommy.
Because he's a jerk. And Clara
bandages him up.
She gives him a sling made out of a ribbon from the present, and there's a twinkle in his eye.
His eye twinkles.
It's you can already tell there's a little bit of magic, and there's
something special about him, and she sees it. She catches
There's a consistent theme of Clara either rescuing or putting the Nutcracker back together again as the movie progresses, and it's very symbolic of her relationship to him in the story.
Yes.
It's very sweet.
It's
adorable.
Perfect.
I love it.
We just love this movie so much.
So what happens next?
Okay, so then she falls asleep, and Grandfather Drosselmeyer wants to wake her, but Aunt Elizabeth stops him by saying, no, let her dream. Don't wake her from, a wonderful dream or an adventure and such like that. So then, obviously, they leave her alone, and then the clock strikes midnight.
And then Christmas magic happens.
Christmas magic that you don't ask questions about.
And the Nutcracker comes to life, and out of a mouse hole in the wall comes a whole bunch of army of mice. And the Mouse King, and the Nutcracker suddenly springs into action and starts fighting them. And Clara wakes up to all this commotion of things breaking and
swords clashing.
And she's like, "This is crazy.
This has
gotta be a dream." But then the Nutcracker's in danger, and she goes to rescue him.
From the Mouse
King, and the Mouse King gets mad about that and uses his magic scepter to shrink her down to size, which is something that does happen in the story where the mouse shrinks her, and then the room suddenly gets really big.
Yes.
And then she's suddenly much less confident because she's much smaller.
And she's like, uh-oh.
But luckily the Nutcracker comes to rescue her, and they do eventually defeat the Mouse King for now. And they take him away through the mouse hole, and Clara and the Nutcracker get to formally meet. And
the owl.
Then the owl on top of the grandfather clock swoops down, because Clara's like, how do I get bigger? How am I going to fix this? I'm freaking out.
And then the owl says, perhaps I can help.
And then it's something really lovely that I never noticed until much later, is that the owl was also voiced by Aunt Elizabeth's voice actor.
Which is slightly foreshadowing.
Yeah, because the owl is giving them information because, wise owls.
Yes, but not too much information, just enough to get you going on that road.
So the Nutcracker gives you a story dump that he is trying to free his homeland, Barthenia, from the rule of the Mouse King. The Mouse King stole the king's crown and scepter from the prince and took over the kingdom and made everything terrible. And he's looking for the Sugar Plum Princess, who will supposedly have the power to defeat the Mouse King. And the owl knows where the Sugar Plum Princess is. She's on an island.
Across the Sea of Storms.
Yeah, so it's this impossible-to-reach island, and they have to go on a big journey. And the Nutcracker's like, cool, we've got our quest.
But Clara,
are you coming with?
She's very...
She doesn't really want to.
She's not sure. She's not very confident about going. She's worried about how to get back. And thus, the owl swoops over to that ornament of the ballerina, of the Sugar Plum Princess ballerina, and she grabs that locket and then drops it to Clara's hands. And she says, when you want to come home... Open the locket,
and you will return to your normal size.
Yes.
So she has an out, which, now that she has a clear way to get out, if things get terrible, she agrees to go with the Nutcracker, so she puts on the locket, and she wears the locket for the rest of the movie.
Yes.
And they go through mouse hole in the wall.
A magic tunnel.
And they end up falling through a magic tunnel, and they kind of overshoot and end up in an ice cave.
Yes, and it's solid ice.
Yep, so there's no way out.
But there's a funny thing.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need a hand?
Yeah, the Nutcracker's arm fell off when they fall down, so she helps him put his arm back on. And, like, that consistent theme of her helping
put him back together.
Giving him a hand.
Literally.
Yeah, helping to put him back together. And it was like, it's a joke that lands, and then they immediately go back into what's going on. And Clara's like, how are we going to get out of here? And suddenly some snow fairies show up.
Yes.
To help out. And they do a sequence it's the dance of the snowflakes.
It's the waltz of the snowflakes.
The waltz of the snowflakes.
The piece is what it's called.
Yeah, and they play the excellent music by Tchaikovsky, and it's really beautiful.
God. It's so well done, and this is really where that motion capture comes into play.
Yeah.
You see it being executed, and it's just, when you watch it, you are engaging. You are just so zoned in.
I also really appreciate that there's actually footprints being left in the snow in the scene.
Yes.
It's like the snow is not frozen level of good, but the footprint consistency and like the attention to detail, like
minor details,
the matte painting on the walls, the detailing about the particles flying through the air, because there's a lot of glitter and beauty because it's a Barbie movie, but it's genuinely, for 2001, some really stunning animation.
Now, surprisingly, when we think about those waltzes that the fairies had, it really was reminiscent of Fantasia. And there's 2 Fantasias, and I think in each of them they both have a fairy dance. There's
a Tchaikovsky dance.
Yes, there's the dance of the sugar plum, and then there's the waltz of the
flowers.
Yes, Waltz of the Flowers, which that is also reused in this movie.
It's using the music to back the animation up. It's like the music is the feature of these sequences, and then the motion capture on the ballet dancers
just makes everything so good.
To do the corps de ballet section with the dances with the snowflake fairies is really excellent. I also love that throughout the movie you get different kinds of fairies in the movie, and each one is distinct looking.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me similarly of that of a musical, but completely different, where it's like they stop talking and you just listen to the music and you watch them dancing, but it still tells you the story. Just like there's not enough to just explain something, instead you have to do something or show something or sing it instead, but this was the case of dancing it, and it didn't seem awkward or misplaced. It definitely belonged in there, and if it wasn't there, it would be lacking.
Definitely is like a music piece that inspires wonder, and a lot of the music in the Nutcracker has that kind of wonderment feeling about it, so using it in service to be the gateway to when they get through the ice, because the fairies actually open a passageway through the ice, and they're able to get back to where they're going. It's such a good gateway tool for the impact of them leaving the ice cave and ending up seeing Bartholomew for the first time in the movie. And it's a beautiful matte painting.
Oh.
It's clearly a matte painting. I never once believed it otherwise, but it's a beautiful matte painting.
Yeah, it's a great landscape. You had said something really good, and I can't think of what you said earlier, about when they were having her dance. I don't remember like how you tied that in. Almost it was like the foreshadowing of it. God, I can't remember what you said though. It was something along the lines of how the fairies, like the younger fairy that was including her in like learning the dance moves.
Yes, because there's a Kelly kind of looking fairy in the group, and the Kelly fairy tries to encourage Clara to dance along with them, but she can't quite get it yet, and so she's a little discouraged. But the fairy's just kind of doing that. It's okay.
Like, just continue
You'll get there. Sort of deal. And they're also trying to push, the fairies are always seeming to push Clara and the Nutcracker together, and there's already that kind of cute little puppy love sort of,
there's like the awkward glances.
These two are like adorably awkward as opposed to painfully awkward. And then it's a really lovely thing when the gateway opens and all the light comes through, and the Nutcracker says, I guess that was their way of saying thank you. So as they exit the cave, you're miming at me, I know you are. As they exit the cave, there's an excellent piece of foreshadowing that I always forget about until I remember it.
And it happens.
So the excellent piece of foreshadowing as they exit the cave is what?
It's when, as she mentioned earlier, the footprints. When Clara has her footprints walking out of the cave in the snow. Up sprouts small little flowers and like little just leaves and plant matter and everything. That sounds like really disgusting the way I described it.
Flowers sprout out of her footprints, and she's walking next to the Nutcracker, and his footprints, they're completely normal. They're huge, but they're completely normal. And then her footprints, as she leaves the cave, suddenly there's flowers sprouting out of them, and it seems like a little magical touch in the movie the first time you see it, but when you think about it again further at the end of the movie,
it all ties in together. It all
comes back around and you suddenly get it. So like this is like layering, and then they never really bring it up.
And they never explain anything.
They never explain it, or they don't like bring it up in a way where they're like berating you with all of the clues and
like
all
as
the
if
answers.
They thought you were dumb. I have
all the clues, and then they do like a quick flashback.
They don't treat their audience like they're stupid.
They don't handhold you. They just carry you through, and you either noticed or you didn't, and then that gives the movie rewatch value because you can appreciate everything was there for a reason.
The minor details.
They really thought this through.
Ooh.
So, Barthenia.
World building.
World building. You actually believe it's a real place. They really give you a sensory.
They tell you about it. So like the snow is not even
description.
It's not even cold.
Mm-hmm.
And she's never seen a sky so blue, and
everything smells of peppermint.
Yes.
The trees smell of peppermint.
So it's like as you're walking in, you're getting these details.
It's all the things about Christmas you want. It's like perfect Christmas kind of world.
I would hate the trees. I hate mint. I would die. I
like the smell of mint.
I guess the smell of mint. I guess it's not toothpaste, so I would.
No. Like I've had
genuine mint.
I've had like evergreen and minty smelling candles because I do Christmas candles. I love Christmas.
Ooh, pine and mint. We could make our house smell like Barbie.
Barthenia.
Man.
Is it called Barthenia because it's a Barbie movie?
Barbinia.
Barthenia.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think they just like invented a name and they put letters in a hat and they're like Barthenia.
I feel like it is because it's a Barbie movie.
Yeah. No, I can imagine.
I only just thought I'm 25 and I just thought of that.
Oh.
God damn it.
But so you were talking about like the map in the back and but front and center they have all these textures. Mm-hmm. We were going on and on about the textures for a while too.
The texturing on all of the characters and on all of the locations is excellent because they knew the limits of the software at the time and what they could do with the models, but they made up for it with the art direction.
Yes, definitely.
So, like the textures and details on everybody, like down to their hair, looks really good. It doesn't look realistic, but they were never going for realism. Everything looks like you're playing with a bunch of dolls.
It's what you would imagine. Like, if you ever were a kid, which you were, I
woke up a fully formed adult.
If you ever played with dolls, this is how that would go. You would imagine things happening, your storyline becoming... You would
imagine all the things going on with the dolls that aren't actually happening.
And this is what that is.
Yeah, this is where you're playing with dolls, and then I made the comparison while we were watching it, that it's like when you watch the Lego movie and you're like, this is exactly what your brain is doing while you're playing with Legos.
Yes.
This is what the movie is. The movie is what you're doing while you're playing Barbies.
Yes.
And so, like, the fact that all the characters look like Barbie dolls doesn't really bug me. It looks like them in the best possible way.
Yes.
And the other thing I love is that every single character looks like it belongs in the movie. There's none of these weird characters
misplaced.
Where like, you shouldn't be here. And every character looks distinct, so it's not as if they all look the same. Every character has their own distinct model and character design and costume.
Which is surprising, because there's a couple of scenes with villagers and, like, villager people. Mm-hmm. But there are also, you don't really catch repeats of that person.
Not a ton,
They're different.
No.
They're all different.
And every single character belongs in this world.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
Which is ironic, because every now and then, when you see multiple characters from the actual world, and you see Clara with them, she's just a little bit different, a little bit plainer, a little bit simpler.
Yes, everybody looks like they fell out of a Christmas village setup.
Yes, except for her.
Except for Clara. Clara looks much plainer, and that is on purpose because she's from a different place. She's in service to the story, but she doesn't have a look that belongs in this world.
Yes.
So you really buy that she's the outsider character, so you don't really feel bad when people are explaining stuff to her. There's visuals to go up back the story up.
Yes. So, getting away from the cave, finally, they've made their way down to a village that's just been pillaged.
Well, before they get to the village, though, they've been spied on.
Oh!
Because this is when Bartok shows up.
Oh, yep.
Pym,
yes.
Pym, the
Mouse
King's
henchman,
sees them come out of the cave and decides to report into the king that the Nutcracker's alive and he's in the forest and he's got that girl with him, and the Mouse King's not pleased about it, but he also overheard them talking about the Sugar Plum Princess that they're trying to find. And so the Mouse King's like, oh, they're trying to find some Sugar Plum Princess that apparently has the power to defeat me. I need to find out about the Sugar Plum Princess.
So he goes through his library.
He goes through his entire library and can't find anything more than like a paragraph about her.
But not yet. Not yet.
She's like a mystery. And so he's like, oh, bring me the Nutcracker. And he's like, bring me pictures of Spider-Man. You know, that.
Right, bring me the Nutcracker.
Nobody can do that.
Except for Tim Curry.
It sounds so dumb coming out of our mouth.
Bring me the Nutcracker, and it's just like that.
I'll run an
so
audio
lame.
bit of him.
Yes, please.
It'll sound way less lame than I'm saying it.
Wait, no, it's like we say it. Bring me the Nutcracker. Now he says it.
There are some excellent voices in the movie.
Oh,
There's
God.
some excellent accents. Every single voice coming out of every character.
Oh, what's Major Mint's last name? It's Christopher Gaze.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Gaze is Major Mint, but you'll meet him in a little bit.
Plays Major Mint. He's excellent.
Oh,
Give him as many jobs as possible.
Yes, please.
So,
moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward. What happens next?
They've walked into a town that's just desolated.
Oh, the Gingerbread Village, yes.
Yes, the Gingerbread Village. And in that village, Clara ends up picking up a doll, and she's like, it's so sad here, basically because everything's destroyed.
Yeah,
and
it's a bunch of sad gingerbread houses, and all the people are missing.
Is explaining what happened. He's like, yeah, it's the Mouse King's men. Like, he basically did this. He planned for this. This is what he's doing everywhere in the kingdom, and it's really sad.
The people are being forced from their homes, and all of their stuff's being taken, and then they meet two little children
in a snowball fight because they have really good aim.
They throw a bunch of snowballs at them, but then Clara returns the doll to the one little girl, the peppermint girl.
Yes, yes.
There's the peppermint girl and then the gingerbread boy.
Oh, wait, we forgot about the horse.
Oh, and then there's a horse named Marzipan.
Marzipan, of which has, like, air pets. Clara goes to pet the horse.
And her hand's just kind of floating around.
It's just floating. Like, it's doing the motion of petting face to hair.
There are moments where the animation's either clipping or it's a little floaty. But it's 2001, guys.
And it's quite funny, though.
It is funny. It is really funny watching their hands flopping around.
But go on. They meet the kids.
Yeah, but they meet the children, and the children are like, oh, we went out to gather candleberries, and then we came back, and everybody was gone. What the hell are candleberries?
So we have this idea. Candleberries are like apples. They grow from a tree.
And then you pluck them, and then the stem is a wick.
Yes, the stem is the wick. But it's like, if it was actually edible...
Is candleberries a food, or is it a candle?
An item.
But is it like when icicles grow on trees, but it's a candle?
Icicles grow on trees?
They do end up growing on trees during the winter.
This is true.
They grow on my rain gutters.
But, like, yeah, are candleberries edible or not? Because the berries...
We had an argument about candleberries earlier, and now we're doing it again.
I know, because we have to discuss this. Berries.
We're going to make a t-shirt that says, what the hell are candleberries?
We were picking candleberries.
What does that mean?
So, okay, we have the option of if it's not edible, but what if it was? What are those then?
I'm gonna Google candleberries.
Google.
What if they're a real thing and we're just stupid?
We might just be stupid, and that's okay.
We are stupid,
I'll take
but what if we're stupid?
But what if we're stupider than stupid?
While I'm looking this up, just keep going.
Candleberries.
No, not about candleberries. Keep going.
No, not about candleberries.
No, we're not going down this hole again.
Okay, well, anyway, so then after they were introduced to each other, and, main plot point, the gingerbread boy, who doesn't really have a name, they just go by, like, Pepper and Patty, and what's the kid's name? The boy's name, Gingerbread something.
I just call them the Peppermint Girl and the Gingerbread Boy, it's easier.
Oh, her name, that's not her name. Peppermint Patty isn't her name. Patty is the doll's name.
Peppermint... That's right. Patty's the doll's name. Peppermint Patty is a peanut.
Okay, we are stupid.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the Peppermint Girl and the Gingerbread Boy, they all meet, and a plot point is discovered. So it's discovered that the Mouse King took over because of the prince. It was basically all the prince's fault, Prince Eric. And they really don't care about the prince. And, I mean, of course, kids wouldn't really realistically care anyway. But they know enough that they think that it's his fault, Prince Eric's fault, that the Mouse King came to power and became the Mouse King. So they blame Prince Eric. And as do the village of people and like anybody else that we meet throughout the story, they don't think that he was a good prince because of what happened. He wasn't ready for the throne and thus let the Mouse King take over. So then they decide to travel together, and as they're traveling together, they are almost discovered by the Mouse King's henchmen, and not the bat, but just some regular mice henchmen that are carrying off the rest of the village of like the Peppermint Village or whatever it's called. And then they run into the forest, and Marzipan, the horse, what is it? Is it a real thing? Are you kidding me? What does it say?
Oh, there is no such thing as candleberries, but a candleberry tree are types of trees that you use in candle making. So candleberry trees are a real thing where you can use like the sap and things to make tallow and wax and things.
Okay, so I'm sure that if they were picking candleberries,
candle making, but a candleberry isn't a real thing.
So I'm assuming that because a candleberry
okay, and this
tree.
is even more embarrassing. It's an Asian plant.
Way to go, 75% Asian. You strike again. Oh, wow. Well, that's just a Asian stereotype. We don't know everything.
Yeah, it has leaves and buds, and they use it in candle making, but there are no candleberries.
Okay, so then that's...
But a candleberry tree is a real thing.
I think it's safe to assume, then, that picking candleberries is actually picking candles from trees like apples.
Screw it. It's just candles.
Yes.
It's just candles that grow from trees.
We'll have to ask Silas to make us an image of a tree with candles dangling from it that we could pick, and it's like picking candleberries.
You know how they have candlesticks that are like on one wick?
Yes.
And they just hang off of like there's like two candlesticks and they're attached by one wick.
Yep.
I'm just gonna hang a bunch of those from my Christmas tree. They're candleberries.
Only I'll know what they are. Every year we have to send a picture of our Christmas tree to each other with candleberries on it.
We're dumb.
We are dumb.
Where were we?
So they were running away from the Mouse King's henchmen, and they ran into the forest. And then a
ladder just falls out of a tree, and they're like, "Get up here!" And we're like, "Okay,
let's go." So they climb the ladder. Marzipan ran off, but she's okay.
It's okay.
She ran off.
She's a horse. She's fine.
Yeah, they don't want the horse anyway.
Yeah, they really want them. And they escape into the tree up the ladder, and
there's old people with spears.
Yeah, there's a bunch of townspeople with like pitchforks and shovels and things.
Are they actually townspeople, or are they now treehouse people?
I don't know.
Tree village people.
The village people. Not the band.
You're stupid.
I am very stupid.
So, yeah, they get up there, and it seems kind of hostile.
It's the resistance.
It's the resistance with spears. Yeah, this old guy is holding a spear at Clara.
Yeah, there's a really old man with a spear. You know, he means business.
He does mean business.
But yeah, so they're resisting people that are hiding out in a treehouse in the woods.
But you don't know what they're resisting just yet.
They're resisting the Mouse King.
Yeah, well, you find that out when this dude with a very intense accent comes up.
A very British man.
Yeah, and he
arrives.
asks them basically what they're doing, and then he directs Masha to take care of the kids.
So there's this like lady that takes the kids, and then
and
Clara...
she's exactly what you imagine a Barbie movie with the character name of Masha.
I think it's the same character model as the maid from the beginning of the movie.
I think so.
Yeah, we'll just go with
at least close enough.
Yeah, but so Clara and the Nutcracker go to meet with the people in charge, and the people in charge are Major Mint and Captain Candy. Major Mint has the greatest voice.
Yeah, so Major Mint is the one that we were talking about earlier. He is the kind of
British person that definitely spits while talking.
Christopher Gaze. And then Captain Candy is Ian James. What is his last name? Corlett? I don't know. I think you have it written down. Ian James something.
I didn't write it down.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Well, it's Captain Candy.
We'll correct it later.
If it's wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Ian James Corlett.
So, Major Mint is a big, tall Asian, not Asian, no. What am I talking about?
He's Indian.
No. Captain Candy's Indian.
Oh, yeah.
Major Mint is the tall British man.
He's the tall British man that just looks British. He just is British. And Major Mint... Actually, Captain Candy, his character design is very that of a toy soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Like those,
Dude.
Yes.
The Major and the Captain are the toy characters at the beginning that
Oh my god, that Tommy is playing with!
That's right, Tommy's playing...
Yeah, I remember that.
Because Clara and Tommy both got presents, and Tommy's presents were little toy soldiers.
I think we were talking at that point with the review, so we were having
a chat. I'm positive.
Yes. You know, you're 100% correct. So...
Foreshadowing.
Also, Major Mint is tall. He is like 2 feet taller than Captain Candy. And
easily.
Major Mint has the best quotes in this movie. Like
he's so quotable just because he's so British it hurts.
Yeah. And it's so funny.
Every single one of his things is things that people should say all the time when something stupid happens.
Every scene that he's in, it's something gold.
Next time that there's like bad driving going on and we're in the car and like somebody cuts us off, I'm just gonna yell, "Great googly!"
It just makes you feel better when you start using...
Major Mint and Captain Candy are like... They're good side characters. They're real solid. Their animation is great. Their character designs are great. They look good for the story. And they are in service to the story while also being comic relief.
Oh. And Captain Candy, though, his outfit.
It's excellent, yeah.
It's great. Mm-hmm. It's not offensive.
Yeah, Captain Candy is an Indian character, and it definitely looks like at the time period when India was still a colony of Europe. And so he's got like a turban and things, but it's not offensive, and he doesn't have an accent. He just sounds like a guy. So like the fact that there's a white actor, the fact that there's a white actor playing him doesn't bother me as much because he's not putting on a voice.
Yes.
It's not like Apu from The Simpsons.
Oh god.
If it had been like that, that would have been embarrassing.
Yes.
Really, the only really like dressy thing about his outfit is there's a rainbow feather on his turban, but it doesn't look bad.
You can't really tell, actually. You can only see it sometimes, and even then it's like, it's fine, it's just there.
Captain Candy also kind of looks like a character that should be in Candyland.
Yes, he does. He also kind of resembles Tchaikovsky, the composer.
Yeah, we held up a picture of Tchaikovsky next to him when we paused the movie because it was kind of funny.
Let's have a side-by-side comparison right here up on the screen.
Anyways, so the Nutcracker explains that they're on their quest to go find the Sugar Plum Princess, and she's on an island across the Sea of Storms, so they have to get there. And Major Mint and Captain Candy kind of sort of agree to go with them because they're kind of out of ideas to fight the Mouse King. But Major Mint is
very skeptical of this.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in any of it. He just wants to be in charge. And Captain Candy...
He persuades him.
Captain Candy is more into the idea because...
The king
used to mention the Sugar Plum Princess and believed it existed, and that the prince believed it. And the other thing that's really neat is that Captain Candy mentions that he used to be friends with the prince, and he didn't know what happened to the prince after the Mouse King took over. And so later,
he asks
the Nutcracker and Captain Candy have a moment, and Captain Candy actually asks him whatever happened to Prince Eric.
And then the Nutcracker responds with, he destroyed him. And in truth, he kind of did.
Yeah, because at this point, you get that Clara has figured it out that the Nutcracker is actually
Prince Eric,
and he's been transformed by the scepter into a Nutcracker. And Clara and Prince Eric
share a moment
where she asks him why he won't just tell them who he is and lead his people. And he has a really good reason. He's like, I didn't want to be king when the opportunity was given to me, and now I don't deserve it.
Yeah, so he's going through this redemption of he wants to do good by his people, but he doesn't want them to know.
Because he feels like he let them down in such a serious way where they'll never be able to forgive him.
And that it is his fault for everything that's happened.
It's interesting that he wants to find the Sugar Plum Princess not because he wants to be normal again, He does it because he wants to save his kingdom. He never once mentions ever wanting to be turned back into a human.
Yeah, it's for his people, not for himself.
Which is really cool, because like most characters that are transformed into other things, their main motivation is getting turned back.
Yes.
It never once comes out of his mouth that he wants to be human again. Not even when he's like developing feelings for Clara and Clara's reciprocating. He never once mentions that he wants to be anything.
Yeah, he never asks for anything.
He doesn't want to be Prince Eric again. He doesn't feel like he deserves it. And I love that. It's such a cool twist on the regular formula of transformed prince character. Because even in Beauty and the Beast, his main motivation is he wants to be normal again.
And what's cool about it is that Prince Eric, a.k.a. the Nutcracker, he calls himself a hunk of wood. Mm-hmm. And he does this a couple of times in the movie.
In like a self-deprecating sort of way.
Yeah, referencing it. And Clara...
Like, I don't matter. I'm not special. I don't mean anything.
And Clara likes to tell him that, no, you're more than that. Each time, she's always trying to help him. Just because she's nice.
Well, she's never talks to him like he's a thing. She always talks to him like he's a person. Mm-hmm. Even from the very beginning of the movie, when she received him as a gift, she kind of like treats him like a person, which is really adorable.
Yeah, she treated him well every time. Mm-hmm. And then after you find out the groundbreaking news that he is Prince Eric, it switches to the Mouse King. Mm-hmm. Again,
so then the Mouse King's like basically establish that the Sugar Plum Princess doesn't exist, but he still needs to destroy the Nutcracker because him giving people hope that the Sugar Plum Princess will save them, and him being their symbol of hope and their freedom fighter is dangerous to his being king. So he summons a rock monster to go destroy them.
Yes, after ransacking the entire library.
We got a little angry because there's books everywhere.
Oh god, it's awful.
When the books are just piled up in like a huge pile, not even in a stack, just a pile, it makes me angry.
And this is the small little paragraph, that's not even a paragraph, it's a sentence that he discovered in the actual book itself. It just says 3 words. Kind, cunning, brave.
Yeah, that's all they know about the Sugar Plum Princess.
That's it.
She's kind, she's cunning, and she's brave.
And then he breaks the 4th wall.
And he's like, that's it?
By looking directly at the camera.
That's it.
That's it.
It was great. Every time they cut away to the Mouse King, it's a delight. He's evil, and you feel like he's bad, and you worry, but at the same time, he's so good, because, you know, Tim Curry just chews the scenery. It's really fun.
He does. And what's cool is that as soon as the rock giant is formed, the music just changes subtly, and then it leads you back to
and this is again one of those times where they're using the music to its best ability
for the storytelling.
They chose the sections of music correctly. They used it to really back everything up because the visuals are already pretty good. The music is what makes it feel like there's an impact.
Oh, the music is so good. And I'm a stickler for like just Tchaikovsky's like the original Nutcracker. So like liking something that has been reworked
and done to death.
Yes. Is awesome because it's so well done. It's so well done. And it's
great the way it is.
It withheld the integrity of the original composition of the Nutcracker.
Because there are times where people have used the Nutcracker music and things, and I'm just like, why would you do this?
The example of that is Nutcracker 4 Realms. I hate the music in that, and I will hate that until the day I die.
We'll do a separate talk about that and why it's not as good as Barbie.
And we love Disney! Just 10 out of 10 was not impressed with that movie.
I was wishing that they would do something with the Nutcracker Forever, and then they made that. Kind of like how I wish that they would do something else with Alice in Wonderland, and
they did that.
We won't talk about that. We're never going to talk about that.
We're not talking about that.
I don't have anything worth saying about that.
All right, moving on.
It's just a lot of screaming.
It's awful.
I saw that in the theater.
Oh. I did too!
I saw it in 3D, which was even worse.
Oh, that is bad.
I had a headache, so I took my glasses off.
It
was bad.
That was worse.
Yeah.
We are at the part with the bridge.
Okay, yeah, so they cross this obnoxious bridge. It's the only part of the movie I really hate because the bridge is stupid. It's just a bunch of floating rocks with no railings.
Except...
Who made this bridge?
Except it gets you the funny scene with Captain Candy.
Yeah, Captain Candy and Major Mint just trying to cross the floating rock bridge is pretty funny just because Major Mint just makes all these weird noises. It's just British noises. It's just a lot of British noises, and then Captain Candy almost falls off, and the Nutcracker saves him, and it was kind of really cute because after that scene where they mentioned that Captain Candy used to be his friend, it's kind of like your friend saving you and not you not knowing sort of deal. And so then they get across, but they lost a bunch of supplies. So they have to go look for supplies, and they've gotten to the coast at this point, so they need boats and they need supplies. So Major Mint and Captain Candy decide they're going to build the boats, and Clara and the Nutcracker will go get more supplies because they lost a bunch.
Yes.
So they go to this old well that the Nutcracker knows where it is, and it's been sealed up, and there's all these dead trees.
And rocks on top of it.
And rocks everywhere, and they're able to get the well back open, and Clara's kind of like, well, how are we going to get supplies now because there's nothing growing here? And when they open up the well, all these flower fairies come flying out, and they'd been trapped in there by the Mouse King's guards. And now that they've freed them, they want to express their gratitude, and then they do the
Another
Waltz
ballet.
of the Flowers. They do the Waltz of the Flowers, and I love that the flower fairies look distinctively different from the snow fairies. They look distinctly different, and I like that. It's like they could have just done like another texture wrap, but they're actually different models entirely.
Yeah, and oh my god.
And they're so pretty.
They are so pretty.
And then there's another little Kelly character that's like one of their fairies that kind of is adorable and flops around.
Yes.
They're adorable.
And thus starts growing everything.
Yeah, all these trees start growing, all these flowers start growing, and they're just flowing around, and that's when they go back to another mocap sequence where the dancing is beautiful. And the animation's so smooth.
Yes, but there's this funny little part in there where the apples are growing, and it's the ba-da-da-da-da-da-ba-da-da-bum. A bunch of apples
just fell out of the tree and land on
the Nutcracker. Just hit him
look,
on the head.
Look, a joke that lands. Animation. You don't have to hit us over the head with it.
Yeah,
just a cute joke, and it went with the music.
Just literal. And then they pick apples.
And like, yeah, well, we've got no bags to put the apples in, but yeah, we got a pile of apples now.
Yep.
Cool.
And she's subtly dancing. While picking.
Yeah, and Clara's kind of subtly dancing, and then the fairies are pushing them together again.
Yeah.
Because they're always doing that.
And they're about to start dancing.
They're about to kind of, have a good time.
And then Rock Giant
shows up and steps on all the trees, and the fairies go flying away. And they go running away from the Rock Giant. And so they get back to the boats.
And she's like, Captain Candy!
Major Mint, help!
And he's just like, it must be a spider.
Or a Rock Giant! Yeah, so the Rock Giant breaks their boats, and luckily the Snow Fairies suddenly come out of nowhere to come to their rescue, to come to their aid, and they freeze the entire ocean, which is like up until this point was a huge stormy sea, and now it's a completely frozen ocean. And they also bring Marzipan with the sleigh, and they're able to get away on the ice with Marzipan, but the Rock Giant's pursuing them, and the ice is just strong enough that it's holding the Rock Giant, so then the Nutcracker is able to
jump out,
stab the ice, and get the Rock Giant to break through the ice and sink.
Heroically, but not before, like, self-depreciating him.
Yeah.
By saying, well, Clara's like, no, be careful.
And he's like, don't worry about me.
Rock sinks.
Wood floats. Rock sinks.
And it's like, oh.
It's like, yeah, it's smart, but also, like, he's just kind of... I love that he's using his circumstances to his best ability, because he can't really get hurt, and he floats. And you can put his arms back on when they come back off, because his arms come off quite a bit in the movie.
He's probably going to miss that. Just saying. Anyway.
I would love to pick my arms back up off the floor and put them back on.
Every now and then I think about taking my arms off.
Or using my arm to reach something. So it's like I take my arm off
and
I use my other arm to grab things. Because he does that where he takes his arm off and uses it to extend his reach. It's great.
I need that. I would like that. In my house.
Or just get a step ladder.
We have that too.
I have one of those.
Being Asian.
We're short.
Very.
It's not fun. So they're able to get away, and Pim, who had been following them around, gets back to the Mouse King and reports in that they defeated the Rock Giant, and he's not happy about that.
Yeah.
So the Mouse King decides, time for drastic measures. So they round up all the rest of the village, the villagers, and Or no, they don't round up the villagers.
I think they're starting to, though.
They're starting to round up the last of the villagers, though. And then he also reports in that Major Mint and Captain Candy are with them, too. And he's like, oh, no, he's gaining support. We gotta act fast. We gotta defeat the Nutcracker and, stamp down this rebellion.
But then he has this idea. And you know that he has this wicked gleam. And he knows something.
Yeah, he has an idea of what's going to go on. So they finally get to the island that they're looking for. And it's like through this fog, suddenly there's this beautiful island in the middle of nowhere.
And like the music is just all relief and just magical sounding. It's just calm and relaxing. Like they finally made it.
And while they were on their way, Nutcracker and Clara have like a moment in the back of the sleigh where they're talking, and she sounds really invested, and she's trying to bolster his confidence, and he's like, well, we gotta find the Sugar Plum Princess, otherwise we can't win. I'll never be able to defeat him on my own.
But you've done all these things.
And he's like, but I'll never be able to change me back or send you home and make you your normal size. And she kind of looks sad when she thinks about it, because she hadn't really thought about going home in a while. And he's like,
then he's like, that is what you want.
That is what you want, right? And she's like, yeah. But no.
But that's not what she wants. She wants to stay there now.
She's invested, yeah. So they get to the island, and so they go to find where the Sugar Plum Princess is on the island, and they see a castle in the distance.
A beautiful castle with the outline of wood.
And everything, yeah. When you're really looking at it, you realize it's not a real castle, but when you first see it,
you don't notice it at all.
You don't notice it at all, and everything's kind of extremely bright suddenly, kind of dreamlike. The lighting got really amped up in that scene, and it's on purpose to look really dreamlike.
And perfect. They enter, they open the doors.
Captain Candy and the Nutcracker go into the castle, and Clara kind of hung back a little.
Because she's thinking that she's going to have to leave.
Yeah, because if she meets the Sugar Plum Princess, she's going to have to leave, so she hesitates. And because she hesitated, she doesn't get captured because it's a fake castle, and
the cage drops.
In a cage, and then the bats all take the cage away, and they're like, oh, wait, we're missing one. Oh, it won't matter because there's no way off the island. Just leave her. So they leave Claire behind and they capture the others and they go back to the castle.
And then she goes
and Claire's trapped and the ice is already melted and now she's stuck.
And Marzipan's just chilling.
Marzipan's just eating all the grass.
She's fine. She's like, I like this place.
So Clara, she's kind of defeated because she's kind of sitting there going like, we haven't found the Sugar Plum Princess and now they're captured and now I can't, because the terms of the whole thing is that if I go back before we found the Sugar Plum Princess, I can't be my normal size. And she's like, well, I could always just go home.
And I'm sure I have some doll clothes that would fit me.
Yeah, and it's like, she's considering just leaving.
She's got the out. She's has that easy.
Considering leaving, and she's never once having a way to be prevented from going home. She has the locket at all times during the movie. She has the ability to go home whenever she wants, and she chooses not to because she's like, I can't leave.
I'm their only hope.
I gotta save them. So she suddenly's like got a plan.
Determined.
She's really determined. She's like,
but how?
She's like, I just gotta get off this island.
And then magically,
suddenly, the fairies show up and they've made a swing out of vines.
The flower fairies.
The flower fairies carry her in the swing on the vines
all the way
across the water and take her to the Mouse King's fortress.
Yep, all the way there.
And at that point, the fairies, she sends them away to go get help, and then she goes into the fortress and sneaks in. And the flower fairies go to try to rally the villagers to help out. It doesn't really go anywhere, but like,
of which the kids are like super into it.
Oh yeah, the kids are super down to like start messing up some Mouse King
They're
army
gonna
guys.
Throw down.
Yeah. We're gonna get our forks and spoons.
Spears.
And we're gonna fight people. Yeah,
so
we're gonna throw snowballs at people.
Who's with me?
Yeah, so they rallied the forces, and while that's going on, Clara sneaks in, and she's trying to figure out what's going on and trying to figure out where her friends are. And the Mouse King is using the fountain in the main area of the castle
courtyard.
The courtyard. Yeah, he's building a bonfire in the middle of the courtyard, so we know. Things
Stuff's
are going to
go down. Burn, and we know what.
Yeah, so she's like, I gotta find them. So she ends up going down into the dungeon, and she is able to trick the guards that are watching in front of this door to... Hi, John. She's able to trick the guards into leaving by saying, oh, the king needs you in the courtyard right now. And
or else he's going to turn you into houseflies. Yeah, or was it horseflies?
Yeah, it's like, she's basically like... tricking them in to doing it, and he's transformed enough of his own people into like stone or weird things
that they know
that they're like, well, can't chance it, gotta go. So they
both drop
leave.
Everything and just leave.
And she's able to get into the dungeon, and
but
the dungeon
empty.
is just this big empty room. There's nothing in it. It's just a big dark empty room.
And then logic.
But then it's really I love this.
It's
really
so
love this.
well
it's not
done.
Just
it's
them
the
in
animation is just beautiful.
It's not just them in like a jail cell or something. They could have just done that. But no, it's a big empty room because there's an illusion. Because there's a mirror wall in there. It's a magic mirror wall. And on the other side of the mirror wall is Major Mint, Captain Candy, and the Nutcracker, and they can see her,
but she can't see them.
And she can't hear them either, so they're talking, and you can hear their voiceover in the scene, but Clara can't hear them.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's she doing? Why isn't she helping us? And they're like, she can't see us. She can't hear us. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? And then Clara's about to leave, but then she's like,
thinks,
why would they put guards on an empty room? And so she goes farther into the room
and puts her hand out.
She runs into the invisible wall,
of which the Nutcracker.
Yeah, and she puts her hand on the invisible wall, and on the other side, when they pan around, the Nutcracker's also got his hand where her hand is.
The Nutcracker and the other two are so faint. They're almost just like force ghosts.
It's kind of like, it's not even like that even. It's like a mirage.
It's a mirage.
Yeah,
that's a great description.
It looks like a reflection on the surface of water is what the animation of them in there is.
It's
so you
beautiful.
see them, but it's so faint. And Clara can't see them.
It just swivels over.
You know that Clara can't see them, but she just knows. And he smiles because he knows.
That she knows. That she's realized what it is.
He sees it on her face that she's figured it out. And then she takes a big torch and she smacks it against the thing, and the enchantment breaks.
And immediately goes to hug the Nutcracker.
Oh yeah, and then they hug, and it's really cute and adorable. And she's like, we gotta get out of here.
But it's kind of awkward because they're like, oh, I just hugged you.
Mm-hmm.
They're so cute.
But she's like, we gotta get out of here. They're building a bonfire, and the Mouse King's gonna start some shit.
And we're sure who's gonna be the kingling.
Yeah, and then the Nutcracker's like, oh, we gotta get out there, and we gotta start fighting. And they get out there, and the villagers have all been rounded up. So all of the other characters are being held hostage, and the Mouse King is threatening them, and the Nutcracker's like, yeah, they won't listen to you and accept you as their king if they don't respect you, and if you don't have their trust. And he's like, I don't need their respect or their trust.
I don't need them.
I don't even need them. And he freezes them into stone.
He turns all the villagers into stone, including the little kids.
Yeah, and the Nutcracker's like, had enough.
But
he's had enough.
The sound effect of the magic scepter is like a jaguar, by the way, and it's like the most epic sounding thing.
It's so out there. It's so weird. It just goes, rah.
Yeah.
It's such a weird noise. But it's really, yeah.
It adds the effect, though. It really does.
Oh, and at this point, it's like, it's some of the really epic music in the ballet playing in the background, so things are going down.
Because then they're having this sword fight.
Yeah, they have this fight, and it's like, the fight seems kind of wonky animation-wise, but this is how, like, a fight in a ballet actually looks. Like, when you have two people sword fighting in a ballet.
Yeah, it looks just like this.
It looks like a dance, and it's kind of a lot of parrying and striking, but not a whole lot of actual hitting. It's not really complicated looking.
Until the Mouse King decides to make himself larger.
Yeah, so he does a magic spell and he makes himself gigantic and he starts just wailing on the Nutcracker, and you don't see him get hit, but you hear
the thumping of the wood.
Thumping of wood noises, like when you when you throw something at a piece of plywood,
and it's
that's
just kind of
sad, and you're like, no, because you don't see him get hurt, but you can hear it. And he's really getting wailed on, and then he gets thrown across, and he almost gets thrown into the fire.
Yeah, and he looks all banged up and mangled.
Yeah, and at that point, Clara manages to get to him, and she tries to protect him, and she calls the Mouse King out, and she calls him just a weakling with a magic wand, and you're not powerful, and you'll never win.
And then the Mouse King says a line about how he shrunk her, but her mouth is still too large, so
he's going to shrink her even smaller. And the Nutcracker, with the last bit of his strength, he takes his sword and he uses it to reflect the spell back at the Mouse King to protect her. And then he ends up shrinking himself really, really tiny.
And then he goes into the gutter.
And then he runs away into a storm drain. It's funny. Yeah.
And then Major Mint says, back in the gutter where they belong.
Something like
There's
that.
Something along
really
those lines.
British and stupid. But then Clara...
There's a laugh, too.
Yeah. And Clara, she's scared because the Nutcracker looks like he's gonna die. And he's like, don't worry about me. I'm just wood, remember? And she's like, you and I know you're more than that. And she calls him by his actual name.
And then everybody knows that he's the prince.
He's the prince. And she gives him a kiss. And her kiss breaks the spell. And he suddenly turns back into the prince. And everybody's like, oh my god, it's the prince.
And then Majorman's like, oh god, it's the prince. Because he said some horrible stuff.
Yeah, he was talking some shit earlier in the movie. That everybody else is like, oh, it's the prince. The prince saved us. And the Mouse King's defeated. And this is when Prince Eric suddenly realizes the big twist of the movie. And because Clara broke the enchantment, and then all of the other enchantments that the Mouse King set go away, and the whole place starts everything starts to look beautiful again. It's like the castle goes back to looking beautiful and vibrant. The people unfreeze. The whole world starts to go back to the way it was before.
And then he starts describing her. He's like, of course, you're the Sugar Plum Princess.
You're the Sugar Plum Princess.
And she doubts it. She's like, I can't be.
And she transforms into the ballerina from the ornament in the beginning of the movie, where she's got the beautiful dress and
the curly
hair and the princess crown,
everything
and everything. And she's like, I can't be the princess. And he's like, no, you've been there every time that something magical happened.
Every step of the way, you've been there. You've been kind. You've been there for us.
You've been kind. You've been cunning and brave. And when you look back in the movie, you realize it was there the whole time. The hints that she's actually the princess. Because in the ballet, Clara's not the princess. The Sugar Plum Fairy is its own character that's separate from Clara. Clara meets the Sugar Plum Fairy in the ballet. So it's actually a really big twist if you're only familiar with the ballet. It's a great twist, though.
And it's so beautifully well done.
And it's a twist that makes sense.
They've been building on that since the beginning, and you never knew.
Every time that they were in imminent danger or where they needed something, Clara kind of throws a request out into the air out of nowhere, but it's really it makes sense in the scene, when they were stuck in the ice cave and she's like, how do we get out of here? And then suddenly the snow fairies show up.
And then her footprints.
And then her footprints grow flowers when she enters the magical realm.
The snow fairies keep coming back to her, wanting her to dance with them, wanting them to do things with them, because she is magical.
And then they free the flower fairies, and she wanted supplies, and they create supplies for her. And when they get to the island is where she makes the decision to not run away and to be brave and to go free them and make her own decisions, because from the point where she got shrunk down until the point where she was stuck on the island by herself, she kind of was tagging along with the Nutcracker and learning about the world and getting to know the people. But then her story comes back into play again, where she is deciding to do things to save her friends and to make decisions and be the badass,
that she is, and it's
to the rescue.
That's
and
another
then
cool
the fairies come back and take her off the island. So she made the decision to be brave on the island. She'd been kind and cunning, but she started being brave on the island.
Yes, and then
that's when she is the Sugar Plum Princess.
Yes, and she helps guide the Nutcracker in victory.
So when the owl said, "You will find the Sugar Plum Princess on the island across the Sea of Storms," she wasn't talking to the Nutcracker. She was talking to Clara.
You will find
the Sugar Plum Princess on the island. And she did. And it's really good how they did that. And it was so subtle, and they don't do any pullbacks or flashbacks. They just say it. And
you have to remember those things.
And then you sit there and you're like, oh.
There's the connection.
Yes, there's the connection. So every time that they needed something, every time that something dramatic was going on, it was in assistance to Clara's need to protect her friends and to do the right thing. And she's always kind to every single person that she comes across. She's a good person.
Yes. And another thing is that their storylines are separated. They connect and they intersect.
You mentioned it. That the prince's storyline and Clara's storyline are separate storylines that intersect at some point. And so Clara's story bookends the Nutcracker story. So the Nutcracker's whole story is in the middle of the story, and Clara's story begins and ends the movie.
Yes.
And it's great.
It's really well done, because surprisingly, normally you only meet these characters so that they can help that main character on their journey or on their storyline. But it's like this movie has multiple storylines that it finishes. Mm-hmm. It ends it.
And then it's like all of the major characters' arcs are completed by the end, and for the two main characters, Claire and the Nutcracker, their stories are complete arcs.
Yes.
Both their stories are completed in a satisfying way, where they both rescue each other and they're both able to free each other, and it's great. It's adorable. And then they do the whole
her transformation, like, for sure.
Yeah, and they do the whole celebration where it's like the ending of the actual ballet, where there's a whole bunch of big dance numbers where Major Mint and Captain Candy do the Cossack dance, and they do like the celebration things, and it ends with the super epic, really, really beautiful pas de deux with the Sugar Plum Fairy and the
Nutcracker. The prince now.
Yeah, and the prince. Eric. So Prince Eric and Claire have their pas de deux, and we watched it twice because it was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh my god. The animation of this, stunning. The music, always great.
And then the directing really enhances the dance, because you only get to see it from the audience point of view, so you only get to see everything from front on, but to see everything from multiple camera sweeps is really beautiful, and the motion capture makes the animation just stunning.
Yes.
The ballet sequence is the feature of the movie, and it's great. It's really, really great.
They really went for it, and it was a success. But speaking of the transformation on the prince, I wanted to mention that you pointed out the gold. The gold on his outfit sparkled.
It shimmers, yeah.
Oh my god,
there's a shine to the gold on
on
the caps on his shoulders, and it's really beautiful.
And it didn't happen when he was Nutcracker because of the wood.
Yeah, his outfit is pristine. He looks like how you'd think he would look. He doesn't just look kind of like a letdown. He actually looks like the Nutcracker, but he also looks like himself. You know, he looks like both, which is great.
Yes.
It's really, really cute.
Yes.
I adore that.
Now we can talk about the dance again, because I'm still not over it. It was so good.
It's like one of the best music pieces in the ballet.
It is.
It's one of the most iconic music pieces in the ballet.
It's something that anybody can recognize.
Like, and the harp solo is beautiful, the string section.
Just the beginning of it, when the harp is starting it, and they walk to each other. That is beautiful.
And it's such an accomplishment. It feels really deserved, because you already had this built-up kind of, like, attraction and relationship and mutual respect.
And now you've got this ending dance.
Yeah, and affection, and it's definitely a dance
the finale
of affection. It's really beautiful. It's kind of a great way to end their story, with having them dance together and be able to be together. And, no, she doesn't light up.
Okay.
She's playing with my little doll.
There's a button, but I don't know what it is.
It's not a button. It's actually just a snap for the front and back.
Got it.
Yeah, when they put the doll together.
She twists.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carrying on.
And it's just, we watched it twice. That's how good it is. If you want to even just watch a clip of the movie, that's
it's worth it.
That's
the one.
It's like the animation, even when there's mistakes in the animation, you don't care. It's really well done. It's great.
Yeah,
and it feels earned, which is the other thing. I've had like times where I watched animated movies and there's the couple, and at the end of the movie they're supposed to get together.
And you're like, but this was so rushed.
It's earned, yeah, or like it feels forced. This felt really, really well done and organic. And it's like, I think the best part about it is that they didn't really have any major conflicts. They just cared about each other like human beings.
Yes.
And
had discussions.
Not every relationship needs a big separation or a big conflict or like they don't even need to start as enemies. They can even just start out as acquaintances and become very, very close. Yeah. They don't have to be anything really special, because Clara and Eric as a couple is very obvious. It's like, of course.
Endgame.
But at the same time, it's so sweet and sincere that you believe it. Yes.
And during that dance, it just showcases how they feel about each other.
Yes, and I love that also the eye line on the characters is correct.
When they finish.
Yeah, when they finish and she's in his arms, their eye line is correct. They're looking directly at each other, and there's genuine look of affection, which somehow manages to happen on early 2000s animation.
Wait. They have the beautiful dance, like the jump lift, and then the lift at the end.
Yeah, there's two lifts in the dance. There's a catch where he actually dips her down, and her legs are straight up.
Yes,
and it's a complicated. It's a very complicated lift.
And they filmed that from behind almost.
They did a camera turnaround where they actually came around from behind to really accentuate what the lift looks like, because from the front you really don't appreciate how dramatic
you
that
see a lot
lift
of skirts.
Is. Yeah. And then he does another lift where he lifts her up onto his
360.
Shoulder. And there's
her arms are all the way up.
Camera movement around them as it's happening, and it really showcases those two lifts.
It's beautiful.
And then the music swells, and
it's at the
really
most.
good.
It's at the peak of that music.
It's so good. I could watch that one all day long.
We should.
It's great.
It's so good.
We'll just lose an entire day just to staring at Barbie.
After that happens.
But then after that happens,
and they look at each other. They have the great time.
The prince asks her if she'll stay because he loves her.
And he's like, "Are you going to go home?" Basically, and she says, "No."
And she says, "This locket was supposed to bring me home, but in my heart, I'm already there." And so she decides to stay, and they have their kiss, and it's like, yeah, everything's great. It's wonderful.
Everything is a happy ending.
It's such a happy ending. And then the Mouse King comes back.
He comes back.
And he's on Pym's back. Yep. He's flying on Pym's back. And he's like, I despise happy endings. And he swoops in and steals the locket and opens the locket.
Yes.
And I remember when I was a kid and I saw this for the first time, I was like, no! And it's like the part in the movie where they all yell, heartbreaking. No. It's just so heartbreaking, and the Peppermint Girl's able to throw a snowball at him.
She's like, he's not going to get away with that. And remember, they had great aim.
Yeah. So she throws a snowball at the bat, and the bat gets knocked out, and then the Mouse King falls from the sky. But it's already too late because he's opened the locket, and Clara starts to disappear, and the Nutcracker's like, "Don't go, I love you," and it's just so destroying.
You can't hear her say anything, and then she just disappears.
She just goes, "Eric,"
and you see him.
Yeah, and she's disappearing, and he can't even hold her because his hand goes straight through her, and it's like, no.
And then you see him just put his hand down from reaching from her,
and
looking down to the ground.
Sad. It's tragic, and then somehow the music gets really tragic.
It is so sad.
Because it's a big swell of music, but it's tragedy. It's awful.
It is.
And then the music ends, and
she wakes up.
And she wakes up from the dream, and she's in the living room again.
On the couch.
And she's on the couch, but the subtle
looking for her Nutcracker.
Yeah, because the Nutcracker's gone, and she's subtle. But when you look around the second time around watching the movie, the room is still kind of wrecked from the fight at the beginning of the movie. And there's stuff that's missing, like the Nutcracker and the ornament, because they come back around, and the ornament of the ballerina on the tree is missing its locket, and there's stuff broken in the background. So, and then she wakes up, and she's asking Drosselmeyer where the Nutcracker is, and he's like,
I'm like, Tommy, did you take it?
And they're like, I don't know. And then he makes the comment about, like, oh, the mouse had their own party in here. It's a mess.
And she's like, no.
And she's
it was a battle.
There was a battle, and there was a prince, and the Mouse King had a scepter, and he shrank me, and he's like, should we get a doctor?
Yeah, he thought she was crazy.
And she's freaking out, and then
she's
Aunt Drosselmeyer
she's like, Aunt Elizabeth, have you seen my
Nutcracker?
Well, she doesn't even get to that. She just says, have you seen my?
Because Aunt Elizabeth shows up, and she's like,
and
introducing somebody, and she's like, and this is where I grew up, and she's introducing somebody, and the guy that she walks into the room is the prince.
And she's like, this is my friend, Eric.
He's a son of a dear friend of mine, and he comes in and he's wearing like regular clothing, but he's
Victorian suit.
Yeah, he's clearly Eric, and they get eye contact, and they know each other
immediately,
and he knows who she is.
And then Aunt Elizabeth tries to get everybody out. She shoos Tommy out. She gets Grandfather Drosselmeyer out.
And she says, I invited him to stay for dinner tonight. And they're like, it's a great idea.
That's wonderful.
And so once they're alone together, he gives her locket back. And that's how you know it did happen.
Yes, it all
really
happened.
Did happen.
And so as they're dancing, he takes her hand and they start waltzing again. and you can see them waltzing, their shadows waltzing.
The animation of them waltzing in the living room is adorable.
Oh my god,
really
it's
beautiful.
so beautiful. And it resumes like that.
And then it pans over to the snow globe from the beginning of the movie because she was looking at a snow globe, and
the music is triumphant.
And you see into the snow globe clearly for the first time, and the castle from Barthenia is there, and the prince and the princess are dancing in the courtyard of the castle.
Yes.
And it all really happened. So they want to make it very clear it all really happened. And then like a subtle thing which I didn't notice until this time. I'm 25 and I finally noticed this. Finally noticed that at the beginning of the movie, Aunt Drosselmeyer was talking about how she had just come back from China and she had danced with the king, and
she couldn't say no to the king.
And she's like, "Did you really dance with him?" And she's like, "Well, yes, he asked me. I couldn't say no to the king." So she's friends with the king, and then at the end of the movie, she shows up with Eric and she says, "Oh, this is Eric. He's the son of a very good friend of mine."
And it's like, that's because he's the prince.
He's the prince. Yes, I just
full circle.
Finally came around.
And
I finally got that. And then
Clara used that same reference. She says he asks for this dance, and she says, "I couldn't say no to the king."
And she puts her locket back on. And then it's all a happy ending. And then we come back around to Barbie and Kelly in the dance studio where she's gotten done telling the story to her.
And it's like if Barbie, or if Clara wasn't brave.
If Clara hadn't been brave, she wouldn't have been able to save them all and to do all those things and to find out that she was actually the princess. That she actually had all the power all along to do all those sort of things.
Yes.
And so she's like, well, if you aren't brave and you don't believe in yourself, you won't be able to do everything you set out to do. And so Kelly's like suddenly confident, and they're like,
and she's
let's
like,
try it one more time, and they do the dance, and they do it perfectly.
The first time. And in the wood floors, you see their reflection, almost like a mirror, of which they have a mirror. So they've got a mirror and a reflection on the floor of them dancing.
The animation, even for the limitedness of the animation, the detail that they put in to give it a really solid, detailed look.
Yes.
The details are fantastic. The lighting is great. The shadowing is great. The reflections are great. Everything about the animation is
impressive.
Great. It's really good. They didn't give up anywhere. There are times where you see things clip or you see animation mistakes that are kind of common, especially for the early 2000s, but it's never distracting or too much. Like floating hand things happen every once in a while, but it's really minor. There's times where,
and for the time too.
There's times during the final dance where her hair clips through his body and his arms, but it's because she has so much hair, and you really don't see it unless you're looking for it. Because we noticed it the second time, but the first time we were too busy watching the dancing,
just in awe. And then also there's weight distribution, proper weight distribution of when they're dancing. Like there's hesitant steps where she is waiting for him.
And that's because they motion captured the dancing. So
and it's
how
like,
they do especially, you can see the quality difference between when they're just moving around and when they actually motion captured the characters. Because the dancing was 100% motion captured. I can't speak for all of the animation of the characters walking around being motion capture, but there's a lot of it that feels very rigged because it was done with the mocap studio Acclaim, and I think they did an excellent job.
Like everything about this movie was really thought out and planned, and I don't think you could.
And then not only that, but they also got, for the motion capture, they got dancers from the New York City Ballet, which is one of the best ballet schools.
Six of them.
It's one of the best ballet companies in the country. So to get a whole bunch of really quality dancers to do the dancing for the film was just another thing about the movie that really made it great. And there's actually a special feature where you can watch like a day in the life of 6 ballerinas that are going to school or who are part of the New York City Ballet Company, and it's like a little mini documentary, and a bunch of them are actually dancers who did work for the movie. So,
and in future times, they actually continue to do work on Barbie movies, along with multiple of the voice actors.
Because more than one Barbie movie was done with ballet-related things.
Yes.
And so they continued to work with Mattel, and then we looked up some of the people, and they did go on to do, like, principal dancing for companies, so that
they
special
continued
feature,
on. They carried on.
That special feature is great. It also is like really informative for people who are inspired by dance or enjoy dance but want to know more about the process of becoming a dancer, or who are just interested in all parts of ballet, because I love ballet. I love ballet.
And I love music.
Mm-hmm.
Barbie had the best of both worlds in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is hands down the best movie that Barbie has been in regards to ballet or dancing.
It's the best Barbie movie of the direct-to-video movies.
Yes. They've done it multiple times, too, where there's dancing or ballet in the movies, but this is where they really...
Yeah, in the original trilogy of movies, which are, like, the best ones of the movies, the original three, Barbie and the Nutcracker, Barbie as Rapunzel, and Barbie and Swan Lake, they are the very best ones as far as story consistency.
They really focused.
They really knew what they were doing with these three, and then they expanded on the idea after the success of these three happened. But of the three, the Nutcracker is the very best one.
Those are like the solid trilogy.
Like open and shut, Nutcracker is the best one.
It is. It is. And eventually what we're going to do is we will be doing a review on like ranking all the Nutcrackers. Not all of them, but we're going to pick from a list.
Because Nutcracker has been used as a concept for animated movies before. The reason why they were able to do that is because the music of Tchaikovsky
is free domain.
Is public domain, so it's why they use it in everything. Like, they use it in car commercials, too, during Christmas.
Yeah.
Which kind of kills me.
They use it in Macy's commercials, too.
Oh, all the time. It's so iconic, and it's
timeless.
It's heard so much because it's in the public domain, so they're able to do that sort of thing. But a lot of movies do it terribly. This is one of the best ones.
It does not do it terribly.
Like, I'm jumping the gun with our ranking of Nutcracker
This
movies.
is number one.
I feel like it's going to be number one.
No, it is.
I feel like there's no way we could find a better one.
No, and
I'd love to be proven wrong, but
there's no way. Like, okay, let's take a moment. What don't we like about this movie?
Nothing.
I can solidly say I don't dislike anything.
I feel like even as it's showing its age, it still continues to have so much charm that you overlook it, because there are a lot of movies where you can see them showing their age, or you can see their imperfections, and you love them more.
I can complain about certain animation points, but then I think to myself, that's not something that I dislike about it.
Here's a really good tell about how good this movie is. It's almost 20 years later. It's just about.
Yeah.
And we're still watching it, and we still love it.
We're still watching, we still love it.
And it's not from some blind nostalgia thing either. We just sat through it again, and it's excellent.
Yeah. It wasn't even just that we felt nostalgic about it. We were talking about everything as we were watching it. We're like, oh my god, this is so funny. Or this looks beautiful.
It's like I'm an adult now, and my sensibilities about things have developed, and I've gotten opinions on things, and I've certainly found things that when I was a kid I enjoyed, and I'm like, why did I like this? This is embarrassing. This is hideous. This is terrible.
This is definitely not one of those things.
I have a lot of regrets about my childhood. I do not regret any of this.
No, Barbie is solidly no regrets.
Do we have anything in closing to say about
closing
the movie?
Thoughts. We love this movie.
Before we do anything.
It's the best. And what are we gonna do next?
So we're going to be doing the movies in order. And so Rapunzel is next, and I feel like Rapunzel is going to require some extra follow-up.
Is Rapunzel 2002 or 2003?
I don't know.
We'll figure that out later on.
Yeah, Rapunzel is the next one. I personally love it a lot.
It's the second best in the Barbie movies, in my opinion. I will
say, ahead of the review, Rapunzel was not my favorite when I was a kid, and it's grown on me as an adult, because
it is, it's not my favorite either.
Upon revisiting, it's actually much more interesting than I thought it was. I was a huge ballet kid when I was a kid, so of course, the two ballet movies were my favorite ones when I was a kid. But upon reflecting, I actually feel like Rapunzel is the superior one of those two.
I concur. Because
of Rapunzel and Swan Lake.
There's some things that are kind of lacking in Swan Lake. I think I could pick some things that I didn't like in Swan Lake, unlike in the Nutcracker. There is nothing I don't like in the Nutcracker.
But yeah, hands down, Nutcracker's the best one. If if you love ballet, if you like Barbie, if you just want to give a quality movie to somebody you know for Christmas,
this is it.
Yeah, or like if you want to give a quality movie to like a kid you know for Christmas, this is the best.
This is the one. This is the best one.
It's also kind of fun that it's a Christmas movie, but it's barely Christmassy. It's like Christmassy in decoration, but they never once really bring up Christmas all that much. It's like
except
every
for in
once
the
in a while
beginning.
They say it's Christmas, or like I'm gonna get presents, but they don't. It's not a Christmas movie.
It's Christmas in the beginning and theme, but not really developing of that
It's more
theme.
like Candyland than it is Christmas.
It's just there.
Yeah.
Like, Christmas is just there.
So I guess it's a
in
non-denominational movie, too.
Yeah, that's probably why we watch it year-round.
Yeah,
It's
maybe.
very good.
As opposed to watching the Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I just meant in general.
Oh,
I just meant in general. I didn't mean
I thought you meant the Barbie one. So I was like, I'm not looking forward to really watching that one.
I'm really not.
But, I mean, we'll get there eventually, and then it won't be so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Is there any other announcements I need to make before we finish this?
Before we do the closing?
Our new schedule. Because we haven't had a schedule up until now.
Yeah, we now have a schedule. So, we record on the first of the month. Every month. If there's a time where we can get together and record more often, then we will. But there will be one uploaded every month.
It's gonna happen.
I'm not sure what date it will be uploaded, but this is August 1st that we're recording.
Yes.
And, I don't know, it just depends.
Whenever this gets uploaded, probably in the next 7 days.
Yeah.
If I can help it.
7 days is a good time frame.
It's a good one, because it only took me like a couple of days to edit the last one.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, we're gonna shoot for putting it up within the week.
So, like, maybe it's just like the weekend, either the second weekend every month or something. Is a
recording day.
Yeah. Routine. So we're going to get into the habit of this.
Oh, and we're going to have to postpone Mulan. We were originally going to do Mulan before doing Barbie, but we had a bunch of stuff going on. It had nothing really to do with the fact that the movie was delayed. It had everything more to do with the fact that we just couldn't get our stuff together. And
also that we really were excited to start Barbie.
Yes.
So Barbie is like a collection of podcasts that will be made, and Mulan can come anytime in between.
Yeah, and we're hoping to get other projects as side projects on the channel.
Not just Barbie.
Not just Barbie. But for now, we're trying just to get a schedule together more than anything else.
And another movie reaction is going to be happening from like a fan edit, I think.
It's another fan edit.
Yeah.
It's another fan edit by the same one that we did, by the same person we did last time.
For the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. When we did Rise of Skywalker, the fan editor contacted me again because she had created a brand new fan edit. I don't know if we'll do an actual reaction, but we will do a review of it.
For sure.
For sure, because she does excellent work. I really want to help promote her work. I feel like she doesn't get enough attention in the community. And she's doing all this just out of pure, like, excitement.
And just genuine love.
And wanting to create. And we should always support each other in creative
Supporting
endeavors.
Creators. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
All creators. And,
so as soon as we have an ETA on when we're going to do that, we'll make, like, an official announcement, but it is in the works.
Yes.
And also to her, if she's listening, we are going to get on it. It's just, we've been really busy.
Thank you so much for recommending it to us.
Yes.
We are excited to review it. Mm-hmm. And, I guess that's the end of our closing.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on our 75% Asian Barbie the Nutcracker podcast.
Hopefully we'll be able to do this again soon. Maybe
Next
not
month.
in my living room. Maybe in my apartment this time, if I get back there.
That would be nice.
That would be really good. Yeah, I'm in the middle of moving. That's another thing that's been a big problem.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Stay safe, wash your hands, and wear a mask.
Wash your rice.
Wash your rice.
Wash your fucking rice.
Wash your rice.
Wait. What? Great. Googly?
Great. Googly. Wash your rice.
Captain Candy.
That was awful. I'm going to cut that out.
Fine.